Hello everyone, the summer version of Bucs Talk is once again up and running at bucshockey.com. I'm Scott Montesano, once again welcoming you and thanking you for taking time to pull us up on the internet. Nothing says hazy, hot, and humid weather more than discussing hockey in the middle of July, like putting pickles on your egg scrambler or watching a horror movie in the middle of the day. It's just a perfect fit talking hockey in the middle of July. All kidding aside, I know many people absolutely enjoy hockey in the middle of July. Many people already anticipating those adrenaline-filled wintry nights at various arenas around not only the USHL, but obviously the college game, the professional game as well. For some, this is the worst time of the year. You don't have any hockey to operate with. You don't have any games to watch. And quite frankly, the off-season, even in July, is a very dead period. Nonetheless, though, we will keep giving you your Buccaneers hockey fix, give you guys all a little bit more insight as to what is going on in the off-season, give everybody a refresher as to what is going on with the Buccaneers. Another 30-minute program ahead of us, and the theme is simple this week, and it's a theme of waiting for things to happen, namely the releasing of the USHL schedule, which we will talk about later. But for the most part, things are very quiet. Now, we're not supposed to admit this. You never are in the world of sports, because many of you have heard the stories of people in sports working very long hours and not getting paid well, and it's a grind, and you're working 27-hour days. So you're not supposed to admit what I'm about to admit, but quite honestly, there isn't a lot of feverish activity that does go on in the month of July. Again, I'm not supposed to admit that. It's like saying you don't go to church, or like admitting that you had a midnight snack. You're not supposed to do it. But July really is a time for front office staff people, for coaches to take a step back. There's work to be done. But when you compare it to what you're doing in the actual season, it is more of a 9-to-5 day. It is more of a regular business schedule, if you will. And of course, for the players, for all of the players out there, this is where a lot of them determine whether they're going to end up going to the next level. Many of the players who have visions of having long careers into the college game and maybe into the pro game, what they're doing right now, off-season conditioning, they're doing off-ice stuff. Maybe they're finding a little bit of ice time somewhere in their hometowns, but they're also, in addition to mixing up their off-season regimen, they're finding other things to do. They're finding other activities to do. Physical activities, but other things to do as well. So again, not a lot going on in the middle of July. We'll admit it, there isn't much that happens when you're looking at building your roster, when you're looking at scouting as well. There are very few exposure camps. Now, there is going on this week the Under-17 Select Festival out in Rochester, New York, and Buccaneers assistant coach Marty Quarters is at that. He is at that festival, and there's a few other festivals that do go on, but there isn't a whole heck of a lot that is taking place in the hockey world. Now, as far as that goes, as far as exposure camps go, and as far as USA hockey sanctioned events, we'll talk about a future Buccaneer that will be seeing some significant ice time here in the summer months. That's coming up in a little later on. There has been some off-season news for the Buccaneers as far as away from the rink. We talk about on this show how there isn't a lot of activity, there isn't much to update you on. Well, many of you who are familiar with the Buccaneers, who maybe are within the inner circle of the Buccaneers, and for those of you who may have paid attention a few times on our broadcast throughout the last season, may remember that Red Simon was engaged. Buccaneers head coach and general manager was engaged. Well, a couple weeks back, Red was able to change that engaged to married. Congratulations to Red Simon and his beautiful wife. They were married up in Alaska just before the 4th of July, and they're right now celebrating their newlywed status, if you will. So congratulations to Red Simon. And when you see Red walking around the arena, at the first few games of the season. Make sure to congratulate him. Take a look at the ring. You can make all of the married jokes and dead man walking jokes that you want to make at that point in time. Which does bring me to a point. I've been married now for, about a little more than 2 years. I've been married, and I for one, have never really gotten all of the married jokes. And this man's dead man standing and say goodbye to making any decisions and yuck, 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 yuck. All those 1950s, 1960s-ass jokes about married life and say goodbye to happiness and you'll never again control the remote control. Either I've got the greatest woman in the world, and quite frankly I do, or I have simply not experienced anything like this. I actually enjoy married life quite well. I actually do not make any jokes about the fact that married life is a step backwards for you and all of that. So, but for some of you out there, you're going to want to toss those, so make sure you do at Red Simon and give him some congratulations the next time you see him, which will be when we get to the season. He's going to be back in town along with Marty coming up in the middle portion of August. Obviously, players start to trickle in the middle portion of August for the start of high school at Valley, and also for classes at Des Moines Area Community College, where a lot of our players who are out of high school will be taking classes this upcoming season. Again, Scott Montesano with you. This week's edition of Bucs Talk, and we talked about it a second ago. The theme this week is simple. We're keeping things simple because that is what the month of July is. There isn't a lot of bombshell news. There just isn't that happens in the month of July. But with that said, and forgetting what I just said a second ago about there not being bombshell news, the Buccaneers did get word last week on the status of Mario Luchia. Now, some of you saw this. Some of you saw this posted on my Twitter account, and if you're not following my Twitter account, then, well, you're a week late on hearing about Mario Luchia. The Twitter account that I am referencing, by the way, is DM Bucs Radio. So go on the Twitter, twitter.com, and make sure to follow me at DM Bucs Radio. We have news and information on future Bucs and alumni Bucs and USHL news and commentary and all that almost every single day. So make sure to follow us. And if you were following DM Bucs Radio last week, you unfortunately heard the news of Mario Luchia's decision. Mario Luchia has decided to go to Penticton of the British Columbia Hockey League. He made that known on his own personal Twitter account last Thursday. So about a week before this show aired, he made his decision known. He's going to take his talents, if you will, to British Columbia, to Penticton of the British Columbia Hockey League. Now, that is also a Junior A league. Do not be mistaken. It is not a major junior league. It's not like the Western League. It's not like the Quebec League or the Ontario League. The BC League is just like the USHL in that the players are not paid. So it's not as though he's going to lose his college eligibility. That said, the BCHL is considered not a huge step below the USHL, but still a step below the USHL. Buccaneers a little surprised not to be getting him, but at the same time not totally surprised not to be getting Mario Luchia. It's like when you go to the very busy restaurant without any reservations, and you show up hoping that you show up a little early in the evening. You're hoping that you're going to not have that long of a wait. You think you've beat the rush. And then when you show up, there's still a long line, and you're not that surprised by that. Well, that's what this situation was. The Buccaneers took a shot at Mario Luchia. They knew they had a chance at him, but deep down they knew that there were some cards stacked against them in getting Mario Luchia, who turned out to be a second-round draft pick of the Minnesota Wild. And why did the Buccaneers not get Mario Luchia? Only he knows, but everybody feels comfortable in giving the reasons as to why he's likely not coming here. And that reason boils right down to the fact that he's got friends up in Penticton. It's not as though he dislikes the players on the Buccaneers team. He's got actual friends, buddies, Facebook friends. He's got all those people up in Penticton, namely with the Riley twins. Connor Riley, Ryan Riley, they both played with Sioux Falls last season. We talked about this before. They were snagged by Penticton back in early May. And as soon as they signed with Penticton, as soon as they left Sioux Falls in this league to go to Penticton, a lot of people already crossed off Mario Luchia as a member of the Penticton roster. Pretty sure he was going to go up there. But that said, a lot of people thought that he was still going to stay in this league. This is the better league. But as it turned out, he goes up to Penticton. Mario Luchia, in his Twitter announcement, and nobody has really had any interview with him. I have not seen any published interviews out of the Twin Cities on Mario Luchia. They actually have just reported what he has said on Twitter. But in any case, what he said about Penticton is that he felt more comfortable at Penticton. And the way I look at that is that he knows the Rally boys up there. He's got guaranteed friends that are there. Think back to the best equation to this for many of you listening is college, is making that college choice. And if you've got College A and College B, College A maybe is a little bit better of a school. It's a little bit better of a school. It's maybe it's a private school. It's a private school. It's a little bit better of a school, but it's just not hitting with you. You know it's better for you. Maybe even your parents want you to go there. But then you got School B, which isn't a horrible option either. It's not a horrible option. And you got a couple of buddies that are going there. So you've got School A, which is a better school, but you don't know anybody there, and you just don't feel right there. And then you got School B. You've got buddies there. Even if the school's not a perfect fit, you know you've got buddies there. And that's what happened with Mario Luchia. He's going to School B. He's going to go up to Penticton. And best of luck to Mario Luchia up there. The other issue that's coming out of this whole thing with Penticton and with them taking Mario Luchia and also a few other players from the country. Obviously the Riley boys, Stephen Fogarty, who was a high draft pick and was going to be in the USHL. They also snabbed him a few days ago. Penticton is snatching Minnesota kids like aliens sucking up victims. Penticton's coming into this country and taking a lot of pretty good USA hockey talent. That is rubbing some people the wrong way. How Penticton's been coming in and just sucking the guys up into Canada, and be mindful of that coming into the following recruiting season. There's going to be a lot of people in this country, both the USHL and the North American Hockey League, who are going to have a common enemy in Penticton. I heard Brant Perriott in the Buccaneer office actually equated the Penticton V's to the Miami Heat. The Penticton V's are the Miami Heat of the junior hockey world. All these guys are congregating together. They're going to play with their buddies, if you will, in Penticton. Try to win a BCHL championship over there. Well, we know how that worked out for the Miami Heat, but maybe more importantly, when all those guys got together, the rest of the basketball world started to gang up upon them. Don't be surprised if you see a lot of recruiters around the USHL and the NAHL make sure that they kind of, if anything else, hey, if I can't get this guy, I'm just going to make sure he doesn't go to Penticton. Don't be surprised if you don't see that. That is an issue, a Canadian team taking top U.S. talent. You never want to see that happen, and it's another Junior A team. Remember, it's not a major junior, just another Junior A team. So that's the situation with Mario Luchia. The Buccaneers not getting Mario Luchia there is not a huge surprise to the fact the Buccaneers are not getting him, but there is disappointment nonetheless in not nabbing Mario Luchia. So, unfortunately, the Mario Luchia story never really gets written. We got maybe a page out of Mario Luchia, and that is it. It will always remain an unfinished movie. So we just move ahead. We think ahead to the 2011-2012 season, and the Buccaneers will proceed without him. Mario Luchia on his own was not going to win a USHL championship for the Des Moines Buccaneers. He wasn't going to win one, wasn't going to lose one on his own. Buccaneers will have to win with what they've got. And obviously we look ahead to the season, and the odd thing is, we just don't know what to look forward to quite yet. At the time of this taping, at the time of this show being done, we do not know what the USHL schedule is. Now, hopefully, by the time that my voice is tickling your eardrums, the USHL has been able to finalize our schedule, officialize it, if you will, and we've been able to release it to all of you. We've been sitting on this schedule like a mother hen sitting on eggs for about 2 weeks, and we're just ready for those stinking things to hatch. But the reality is, we've had to sit back and wait for the USHL and wait for a few other teams to, finalize it on their own end. Once that's all taken care of, we're going to be able to release it to you. Again, as I say this, as I'm recording this, hopefully we have released it out to you. But if not, in just a second, I'm still going to give you a little bit of a taste of what this could be. Some of you are sitting there banging your head against the wall, pounding your fist on the table, saying, give us a schedule. What are you guys all doing? Why can't we have a schedule? Your only job in the summer is to come up with a schedule. And to all that, I say, I agree with you. Quite frankly, I do. What this is right now, fans, is think back to when you used to go bar hopping with your buddies. Think back to when you used to go bar hopping. You guys are all at the club. You're dancing. You're having a good time. You guys are having some devil's nectar. You guys are having a fantastic time. And then you guys leave that bar, and you and some buddies are all set. You guys are like, we had a good time. We had a good time. We're gonna call it a night. Maybe we're gonna head on over to the Perkins, have a little early breakfast, if you will, call it a night. But then you got another faction of your friends who are off in the corner arguing about going to some A bar. They're not totally satisfied. They want to hit up a house party. They're not satisfied. Well, that's the situation with the USHL schedule makers. A lot of the people are happy with the schedule. They're ready for it to be released, but then you have the faction who is never 100% satisfied and will not stop pounding their fist on the table until they are 100% satisfied. And again, once we get this thing finalized, it will be released out to you. So we're left waiting for that USHL schedule to be released. Assuming the schedule has been released, I am going to provide you some insight. If it hasn't been released, if on the day you are listening to this, the USHL schedule has not been released, these are secrets, so don't tell anyone. Okay? You promise me? Not going to tell anybody. Don't tell the league I'm telling you this, because if you tell the league I'm telling you this, Scotty can get into some big trouble. So let's make sure we don't do that. You okay? Okay. So let's talk about the 2011-2012 Des Moines Buccaneers schedule. And obviously I can't go into total details with it because we don't have the finalized schedule. But there are some things that we can bring up with the schedule that I think are going to make Des Moines Buccaneer fans extremely happy. This has been, right now, a very good schedule for the Buccaneers. First and foremost, we've said it before, we've had it down in our written reports, the fact that there are more games against traditional rivals. There's going to be more games against Omaha, more games with Sioux City. You're going to see Lincoln more often. Overall, the Buccaneers are going to be playing a Western Conference schedule. Des Moines is going to be in the Western Conference again. Playoff format, all of that is totally the same. Different from last year, though, the Buccaneers are actually going to be playing in their own division. So that is going to help Des Moines out as far as playoffs go, and also just seeing the teams that you want to see. You're going to see Omaha a lot. You're going to see Sioux City a lot. You're still going to see Waterloo a little bit. Waterloo is going to come over to the Western Conference. Dubuque's going to go to the East. Waterloo is going to come to the West. You're going to see Waterloo a few times, but Waterloo is going to be like the Buccaneers were last season, and that Waterloo is going to play mostly an Eastern Conference schedule, even though they are in the West. The only team that is a geographical rival to the Bucs that you're not going to see a lot is Cedar Rapids. You're not going to see Cedar Rapids a lot, and you're also not going to see Dubuque a lot. So that Dubuque-Donnybrook rivalry that had started to develop last season, they may take a back seat because you're only going to see them a couple of times. But in lieu of seeing Dubuque, you're going to see Omaha a lot more. I think a lot of you would take the Omaha rivalry over the budding Dubuque rivalry. Still 60 games, same playoff format. I like that playoff format where 6 out of the 8 teams get in. Many people will say that's a farce. That's a farce. More than 50% of the teams are getting into the playoffs. Hockey's different. That's all I can say. Hockey's different. You want to get into the playoffs. Hockey just is different. It's not other sports. It just isn't. Okay? So, I like the playoff format. A lot of that stuff stays the same. the holdup in the making the schedule this year is actually one of the benefits of this schedule. There's been a premium put on playing midweek games. We're talking the games Monday through Thursday without any holidays involved, the Monday through Thursday midweek games. And that's been the holdup. The league has done a very good job this year in limiting those. And depending on what schedule the Buccaneers are able to release, there's only going to be 1, 2, maybe 3 tops of those midweek home games, which is fantastic for you, the fans. It's fantastic of you, the fans. It's also good for the players because we have to remember, we talked about it earlier, high school kids, DMAC kids, these kids have got, and they are kids. They are kids. I'm touching 30 years old. I can call them kids. These kids have got schoolwork to do. I've been on the bus. It's not easy to do schoolwork on the bus. You want to limit those midweek games. That's also been a holdup, though, because nobody wants to play any midweek games, and well, the reality is, shy of creating an extra weekend date like Fun Day, a day between Saturday and Sunday, or we could call it, trying to think of something out there, Tutudo Day. There we go, Tutudo Day. All right, outside of creating Tutudo Day, which will be an extra weekend date, you have to play midweek games. Mathematically, you've got to play midweek games. That is the holdup. That's where people have drawn the line in the sand. And it's been one of the major issues with the schedule. But again, fans, I think when we announce this, we'll like the schedule. The Buccaneers are going to bring back the Thanksgiving Eve game, more games with Omaha, a lot of Saturday home dates, and the schedule also evenly spaced out. Evenly spaced out. You're going to see games throughout the whole season. Des Moines does have a couple of lengthy road trips. That's the case for everybody in the league. But for the most part, you're going to see the Buccaneers pretty much 5 times a month, which is that even pacing that you like to see. Well, once again, Bucs Talk continues on. Scott Montesano for this edition. Don't forget, we'll have another edition in a couple of weeks from now. In a couple of weeks, just to give you a little taste of what we're going to have in a couple of weeks, we're going to talk to Brant Perriott, Buccaneers Business Development Manager. We'll talk to him about some of the upcoming promotions on the 2011-2012 season. We'll get more of an insight as to what is going on business relations-wise for your Buccaneers. But as we continue on with this edition of Bucs Talk, a couple more topics we wanted to bring up to you. One that many of you have probably already seen, but I do know some of you only get your news from this show. And by the way, pat on your back for doing that. But Michael Brodzinski, future member of the Buccaneers, in fact, the team's #1 pick in the Futures Draft back in April. He was named to the Team USA Under-17 Select Team. So Michael Brodzinski, whose brother played in the league last year with Fargo, is going to play with Team USA at the Under-17 Select Tournament. That'll take place in early August out in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's a 5 nations tournament is what that is. So he'll play for Team USA. Buccaneers, we brought this up earlier. Mario Luchia spurning the Buccaneers' advances, choosing to go with Penticton. Michael Brodzinski was offered a chance to play with the Under-17 team this year in the USHL. So play with them at the select tournament, but also stay with them and play all season long. He has turned that down as Michael Brodzinski. He's going to play in the tournament in August, but he's not going to stick with Team USA, and that's very big for the Buccaneers, so Des Moines keeps his rights. Remember, the way the U.S. program works in the USHL, you may say you've got a kid. You may say you've got the player, but Team USA could simply walk on by and take whoever they want. It's like you bring your date to the prom with you, and then the high school quarterback walks by, and if he points and says he wants your girl, there you go. It's like that scene from Animal House. Where they all go into the bar, and then the guys at the bar say, we're going to dance with your dates. Well, that's what Team USA is. No matter who you've brought with you, if they want to dance with your date, they're going to dance with your date. They're at least going to get an opportunity to ask that. Well, Team USA invited Michael Brodzinski, and Michael Brodzinski said, I want to stay with Des Moines. Now, Michael Brodzinski will likely play high school this year up in the Twin Cities, but join the Buccaneers later on in the hockey season, and Des Moines has full intentions of keeping him for a couple of years. So Michael Brodzinski, congratulations to him, a future member of the Buccaneers, going to get some opportunity to play with Team USA, but is then going to play high school hockey this upcoming winter. In addition, Jeff Blashill, former member of the Buccaneers. I know we have a lot of fans who've only, and I put this in quotation marks, have only been fans of the Buccaneers for a few years, but I also know we have a number of you who go all the way back, many, many years, and many of you remember Jeff Blashill, goaltender for the Buccaneers from 1991 through 1994, just before Red Simon came on board. Jeff Blashill, a goaltender 20 years ago for the Buccaneers, was one of the goaltenders on that first ever Clark Cup championship team. Well, he's worked his way all the way up to the National Hockey League as an assistant coach, so congratulations to him. That was announced the first week of July. Jeff Blashill becoming an assistant coach with the Detroit Red Wings. And this is a culmination, if you will, of a meteoric rise to the top for Jeff Blashill. He's been a coach in the collegiate ranks for a number of years. Then 3 years ago, got a head coaching job with the Indiana Ice of the USHL. Then went right up to Western Michigan last year, a Division I head coaching job. And then this year, up in the National Hockey League. He really got sucked up the system the last 3 years. So congratulations to Jeff Blashill, who works his way up to the National Hockey League and continues a feeder system, a pipeline, if you will, of USHL coaches eventually making it into the National Hockey League position. So we all know about John Cooper with Green Bay, getting into the Tampa Bay organization and coaching their AHL team. Sioux Falls has an assistant who worked his way into the Tampa Bay organization as well. And here's Jeff Blashill, now with Detroit. So congratulations to Jeff Blashill. Many of you remember him. Many of you know him. Some of you out there may have even been a housing parent for him. Congratulations to him, yet another member of the Buccaneer family, to make it all the way to the National Hockey League. Well, coming to a quick conclusion to this week's edition of Bucs Talk. Remember, in 2 weeks, we'll be back with you. Now, regardless of my personal situation, we'll still be back with you in 2 weeks. And what do I mean by personal situation? Well, as of this date that we are recording this show, still no baby yet. Quite frankly, it looks like my wife has swallowed an entire watermelon, and as I've said before, you could play an entire game of checkers on her belly. That's how much it has expanded out. But baby Montesano has yet to come out yet, despite my efforts to squeeze my wife like a tube of toothpaste. We still can't get that baby to come out. So the baby due to come out on July 18th. If it's a boy, it'll be Derek. If it's a girl, it'll be Alexia. Derek, named after the greatest athlete of all time, Derek Jeter. Girl, Alexia, because you just can't be ugly with a name like Alexia. That'll be the big news when we come back in 2 weeks. I'll be quite honest with you. My first child. My baby batter is growing inside of my wife's oven as we speak. We'll see what comes out when that day comes. So as we record this show, haven't had that magic yet. But when it does, you can follow all that action at DM Bucs Radio. If you want the latest information on all things Des Moines Buccaneers and Scott Montesano related, follow us on Twitter at DM Bucs Radio. Also, before we let you go, as we do this show, we're doing this show, a podcast, they call it, on the internet. These podcasts didn't exist 5-10 years ago. It's the magic of modern technology. I myself recently entered 2011, 2010 for that matter, with a brand new smartphone, and have become quite addicted, if you will, to the smartphone technology that we have had. I've quickly learned you're now constantly connected with the world. I've got a phone right now that I got a phone right now where if I get an email to any one of my accounts, I got horns going off on my phone and all that. I got all these apps, as the kids like to call them, all these apps, including a hockey goal horn app. Honest to God, I have a hockey goal horn app. So if something big happens in my life from now on, I'm going to pull out my phone and blare this foghorn app that I have. I've got an app that tells me how fast my hand is moving. We've come a long way in this world from the days of the digipets back in 1996, 1997. No, the old digipets. I remember my back in the days of the digipets. How some of my friends back in ninth grade in Utica, New York, used to have the Digipads. Now, quite frankly, we've all got phones, and who needs to have any personal interaction with anybody when you've got that phone, which provides everything you need in this world. And I think that's a good way to really sum up this edition of Bucs Talk. It was a week, fans, the last 2 weeks, where we enjoyed the 4th of July, the Independence. Do want to pass along the thanks once again, a belated thanks to the Booster Club for a great job at the Urbandale and Windsor Heights parades. But the reality is, for the last 2 weeks, fans, there hasn't been much that has gone on, but there has been some things. The Mario Luchia decision, but mostly waiting for that schedule. And for all of your own good, and for my own sanity, I hope by the time we actually air this program that the schedule has come out. But the schedule still hasn't come out. Remember what all of our parents told us growing up: good things come to those who wait. Thank you very much for tuning us in, finding us on the internet this week. Fans, there's always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. On behalf of everybody, so long, everybody.